Hi everybody, just wanted to share some guidance on planning of testing and feedback while we're in this phase of remote learning. Everything is based upon a talk given by Rob Coe, who came into school at the beginning of last year. I'm going to put the link with this little presentation if you want to go and listen to the hard detail that he shares. But the essence of his talk is that assessment on its own is a hard practice, and that's something as teachers we understand. We also begin to understand how difficult remote learning is. And when you combine those two, we're trying to do something which is really rather difficult indeed. There is a compounding problem that we have with this, is that we may be trying to cover the curriculum at the same rate as we would as if the students were in school. And I think we need to stop and just think about what the students are experiencing, and we need to ask the question, do we think the students will be as successful at that pace in remote learning as they would be in your classroom? And the answer, I think, has to be that they're probably not going to be as successful. So we also need to think about those students who are not engaging, and if we keep going at the same pace, they're going to be many topics behind. So one of the benefits of slowing down our delivery slightly and building in more testing and more feedback is that those students will have fewer topics to catch up upon. And those who do engage are going to have an opportunity to really deepen their understanding and really build up a successful understanding of what we're trying to teach. So there's many benefits to testing, but I think the ones which are most pertinent to remote learning is that we can build knowledge that's going to last for our students. We'll get to see the gaps in their knowledge, so what do we need to do again? And the students get to see what they don't know, and therefore will be more likely to do something about it. We also have the benefit of that durability of learning, leading to a greater transfer of concepts between topics as we teach. Now, two strategies leap out from Rob Coe's talk, and the first one is using retrieval practice and quizzing to help students learn. And the other one is obviously us providing feedback. And I think the technology that we're using helps us provide that in a fairly efficient way. Okay. The obvious thing to mention here is that we need to consider this in the light of trying to balance workload for yourselves and for students. You know, this is not an extra. This is something that should make students' experience of lockdown learning better and our own. So let's have a look at retrieval practice. For retrieval practice to work well, it requires a delay from the initial teaching to the testing part of it. Okay, so that tells us that we do need to spread out the delivery of the content throughout remote learning. Before we use retrieval practice, the implication is that the students need to know the material really well first. If they have a little insight into something and then start trying to learn it using testing, they will not reap the benefits from that. So we need to expose the students to the content a few times before we begin that retrieval practice. Graham Nuttall said, provided a student is able to piece together in working memory the equivalent of 3 complete definitions or descriptions of a concept, that new concept will be constructed as part of the student's long-term memory, i.e. they will have a chance to learn it. So we're really looking at about 3 ways of looking at a bit of material, maybe some different ways, before we start any kind of retrieval practice. Retrieval practice benefits from having quick feedback. So obviously we're not there with them as they're doing this, so the only way we can really do that is to look at any online resources that we're using. So you might already use Kahoot or Seneca, or you might have even started using Microsoft Forms to provide that instant feedback while they're going through that retrieval practice. Microsoft Forms is really useful. To find it, you just need to type in forms.office.com into your browser. and you should sign in instantly because it's part of the Teams Office 365 deal that we have. And when you get in there, you have the option of making either a new quiz or a new form, and you want a new quiz, so click on that. And then when you're in there, you can put a title on the top for your quiz, and then you click Add New to begin writing your questions. And then you get a choice of this. I'm recommending that we use multiple choice questions for retrieval practice. So you just need to click the choice one, and you can write your question in, and then you can type in your answers, and just keep adding option to add as many options as you want. But I'm recommending 5 as a good methodology to get rigorous results. And then you can see at the bottom right hand side here, the right answer, there's a tick button which you tick, which will then self-mark for the students. If students get a wrong answer, there's an opportunity for us to include a message if they click the wrong answer, and you can type in a hint or a prompt to guide them to that right answer in the future. That's the great benefit. So the students get the question wrong and they have your guidance instantly presented to them. You can share this with students simply by clicking the share button, and that'll give you a web page address, which is click copy, and that address will then be copied and you can place it into your usual Teams assignment. You can also share this as a template, which is particularly useful because it means that you can share it as a copy with other classes that you teach and with members of your departments. And so we can actually help each other out with workload a great deal by sharing these resources. So all you need to do is share as a template, copy the address and place it into your browser. Before you start, you need to then click duplicate it so you keep your class results separate to other classes. And you'll get a new title, so you can see it's made a copy here, and I would just change that to the name of the class that I would be teaching. Okay, let's get back to talking about doing retrieval practice well. So there is a little bit of research that suggests that free and open responses are better for the long-term memory. However, those multiple choice quizzes do work as well. So I think the combination of the two would be useful. So if we use multiple choice questions for that instant feedback, and then we use open questions to strengthen the recall. And I think that presents us an opportunity for us to provide some feedback on those open responses. So to set up an open choice question, you just need to choose the text option rather than the choice. And then you can write your question. You can have the option of opening that box up so they can write a longer answer if you want. You get an option of adding in some points for when you provide some feedback. That's up to you. When you come to mark this, you click on the responses at the top of the page of the quiz, and then click the review answers, and that will allow you to add in any feedback that you want to give in a little box and assign points. To get this box to open up, you just click the little conversation box on the right hand side, so you can see a little speech bubbles with a question mark in. Once you've done that, you then need to post the scores to the students so they get to see how they've done. And that's as simple as clicking post scores, selecting all the students, and then pressing post again, and the students will get their feedback and scores. So retrieval practice requires successful rehearsal, so students need to practice remembering things. So therefore, we do need multiple quizzes. Again, Microsoft Forms will really help us. So when we share this, we can actually share it with ourselves and make the same quiz available in a different order of questions for those students. So to do that, you click the 3 dots in the top right hand corner next to the share button, then click settings, and then scroll down and you'll find the shuffle questions option. So you can set the same quiz, but it will appear in a different order for the students. So you can set it up as quiz attempt 1, quiz attempt 2, so the students get the practice remembering those questions and answers. So quizzes will benefit from focusing on one topic at a time. This really just makes your learning goals really clear to the students. It might appear that factual recall, so simple, quick-fire answers, might be the best way to do this, but there's lots of evidence to suggest that even some higher-order questions about explaining things do benefit from this. When we're setting multiple choice questions, 5 options really does help the students and you get some valuable information back. If we can, we should include a misconception or something that we know the students are going to be tricked by or will find difficult discriminating with the true answer, because that adds value to the information you get back from the student quizzes. I really like Microsoft Forms because it allows you to provide instant prompts and hints to the students. They're self-marking and will provide you a lot of good information about what to do next. They can easily be shared with your department, so you can help one another with workload. And you can easily jumble them up so the students can repeat a quiz so that they get to practice remembering the right information. So I just want to give you an example of what this might look like in practice. So I've just set this out, that we've got a concept we're going to teach. So we have maybe an OAK lesson where the OAK teacher will explain it and maybe give some practice questions with that. So that might count as 1 or 2 exposures to that idea. You then might follow that up with a live lesson, focusing on the difficult aspects from that previous lesson and maybe building the knowledge up in a slightly different way. So they get to think about the same material in a different way. The next session that you set, you might want to set 2 multiple choice quizzes and maybe it's a little bit of revision material so that they get to practice with that material. And in the next session, you might want to have a small open response question that you're going to mark with maybe 2 or 3 questions, just with the key ideas from those the last 3 sessions, and then begin teaching the next concept. Okay, that's readily jumbled up, and I think this will still work as well, because I think both these models will add that delay between the teaching of the material and some of that recall retrieval practice. So this time you'll just do very simple, jump straight to the quizzing. You might want to interrupt that quizzing by teaching the next concept, just to increase that delay between the quizzing practice episodes. I think both of these models will work in practice in terms of planning and for student learning. So in summary, the role of testing and feedback can play in remote learning is really, really quite helpful for us. To do this, we need to slow down the curriculum delivery, and we should be aiming to cover less but more thoroughly. We need to allow students to build their knowledge through multiple exposures and practice before we start testing and providing feedback. And quizzing on Microsoft Forms allows students to practice their knowledge and gain instant feedback. Teacher marking should be on those open-ended assessments, and these can be used to help you plan follow-up tasks. So do you need to teach that concept again? Or do you just need to provide individual feedback to strengthen the recall of the students? And Microsoft Forms really can make our jobs a little bit easier by providing colleagues with the same forms and taking theirs, and providing students with multiple quizzes. Simply jumbling up the questions will save us creating brand new quizzes from scratch each time. Thanks, folks.